Someone get me off this crazy thing! Hi there, my name's TheTrueNev, I'm the only there is, and welcome back to the Satisfactory Non-Series, episode 8, where we don't lack energy. Not at all, no siree. And where today, we won't be constructing a factory. Nope, sorry to say that we won't be constructing a factory today. Nope, that's not today's episode. No, instead we will be constructing 2 factories. Well, maybe, I think, hopefully. I want to believe that I can. See, as much as I'm itching to actually build my weapons manufacturing plant, the key word here is manufacturing. Specifically, the manufacturer. I need to unlock that specific machine, and in order to do so, I need to obtain a milestone. But before I can obtain that milestone, I need to start with the very first one in Tier 5, which is oil processing. And before I can actually get to oil processing, is where we arrive at the elephant in the room. Motors. And the fact that I don't have any. So the first order of business will be, logically, to start making motors in mass. And the way to do that is to produce them at my steel factory. So today's episode will most likely be dedicated to finishing the steel factory, V3 this time. And I've technically already started working a bit on it, which I'll show you in a moment. But before that, I have to show you this. I built this platform a few episodes ago, but then never touched it until now. This monstrosity of 4 floors will be creating 12 rotors a minute. The 12 rotors needed in order to create motors comfortably without any sort of lag or delay in the system. And the way we are achieving those rotors are through 1 pure iron node, 5 smelters creating 150 iron ingots, which then feed into 10 constructors creating 150 iron rods respectively, 6 constructors of which then further feed into 9 extra constructors, all making screws, and then all those screws and the remaining iron rods feed into 3 assemblers that are each making 4 rotors a minute. And now let's head on over to the steel factory to see what few changes I've done in the background, and to see how we will proceed in today's episode. But first, feast your eyes on the completed, definitive, auxiliary coal power plant. Now with wings included and a completed hypertube tunnel system to boot. So one of the first few changes I made to the factory was the position of the entrance, or rather exit, however you want to see it, to the hypertubes. Before it was in the middle of the staircase leading up, now it's up here. And I've got to say it looks a lot nicer now. I've also added some temporary storage, and as soon as that's done storing the steel beams that are currently being produced, I'm going to adjust the system to start making reinforced steel beams, as well as the conveyor belt that's leading all the way from over there down this way into one more assembler which isn't made yet that will be crafting our motors. But before I can even get to that, I have to take care of this guy right here. Because see, when I get even just a little bit too close, well, he can't see me right now, but if he were over here, and I get over here just a little bit too close, he starts shooting. And I can't take that risk while I'm building, right? See what I mean? Oh ho ho, ole, buddy, oh Jesus. The worst part about these bullets is they are heat-seeking or something. They know where I am at all times. So before I can even get to finishing the steel factory, I thought it would be a good idea to finally build my enclosure, my little animal exhibit. And not just one, but all 3, simply because I can. And worth noting now that I'm here is, yeah, that. These guys can apparently see through the glass. They're very smart. Unlike the crab flies and their little trees that explode only when you get near it, but not if there's a wall in between, these guys, I don't know, they can see. And the worst part is that their explosive things actually hurt. Well, not hurting me now, but yeah, see, there it is. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make an enclosure that lets me view these things from close enough, but not putting my life in danger. And I thought the best way to do that would be to make it live. Or as live as possible, you know, even if it is a recording, even if there are cuts, I want to show you the process of how I'm going to enslave these guys. I already started by placing down some foundations, so all we really need to do is place down some walls. And you know what I'm noticing? I could actually put a little more floor here, just to get a better view of this guy. I am so glad for these windowed walls. Sure, he can see me. Sure, it's dangerous. But oh, I feel so much safer knowing that they're guiding my life, saving it from this perilous peril. Well, that's one set of windows down on either side. Now I have to cover the rest of it. Oh, but first, I think I might be able to squeeze in some windows over here. Yeah, there we go. Very carefully now. Don't want to get in his way. Don't want to anger him. Perfect. And there we go. Boxed in. But you might be thinking, oh, is this it? No, not really. Not at all. This is just like the exhibit in a zoo, right? But we need a viewing platform. A proper viewing platform. So I'm gonna head back upstairs and place one down. Yeah, it's not totally safe, but hey, it's a viewing platform. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy boy. How you doing? You know, I'm starting to think maybe this wasn't the best idea, but I still like the way it came out. The enclosure is technically already done. All that's missing is another walkway on the bottom and some railings. But hey, we've got the little guy boxed in. And I just gotta put up a sign telling people to beware of fireballs. I mean, technically, if you wanted to get somewhat close enough to see him through the fireballs, I suppose you could. Buddy, don't fall on me now. I may have to put up some platforms so he doesn't fall to his death. And now, though there may be risk of fireballs and certain death, because he can fall, but luckily he just respawns back on the same big-ass rock, the first enclosure is done, and I gotta say, it came out looking real nice. Nice ramps and things. Of course, once the entire factory is fully walled up, it'll look even better, but okay, that's one enclosure. Time to head on into the next one, which is slightly smaller, but should be slightly easier. This one over here, and I think I'm gonna follow the same type of design I went with over there, with lots of glass, lots of viewing area, and some walkways to properly appreciate this guy, both from the top and on his level. Whew, place down these walls, and I think I should be safe to keep placing down foundations. Hey, buddy. Can you see me through there? Hello? Apparently he can't. He's blinder than a bat. That's hilarious. That means the only real danger is the big bad red guy. Would you look at that? It's very fun to get close to these guys. See them up close and personal. Wow, look at that. Hey, buddy. You're ugly, but man, you're awesome to look at. Enclosure 2, done. And third enclosure is finally done. So yeah, I know that wasn't very much live, but hey, we got it done and that's all that matters. And just like the other two cases, these guys are not blind. No siree. However, their destructive power is a lot less than their brothers. They literally can only mildly shoot me and not really hurt me. Let's take a look at this one while he's turned around. Hey, buddy. Looking pretty. I mean, pretty ugly, but pretty. Kinda reminds me of the Predators in Alien vs. Predator, though. But alright. Having finished these three enclosures, I feel very good. The next enclosure we'll probably do in the future is going to be to capture a nope. Now, those are going to be very interesting to do, especially because those guys move around a lot, and I don't know where I would find a big nope, especially the like the alpha version of these guys. There is a super nope out there somewhere, I think in the Red Forest, but I'll have to find it. This tunnel over here is also looking very nice. Decided to wall it up. But now we can actually get to finishing the steel factory. All the time I spent making the enclosures, and look at all the rotors we've got piled up here. So it's a good time to actually get to it. Or at the very least, connect things up. So the plan here is I'm gonna set up the assembler, which I already placed down but I hadn't turned on yet. And then while motors are being made and all that, I'll continue building. And now that this guy's walled in and he can't see what I'm doing, time to turn this one on. Motors! And I don't think it's even powered on. Hold on. Yeah, it's not powered on. Silly me. But okay. We can plop this one down over here. And then we can grab some conveyor belts and stick them into their respective areas, like over here. And there we go. I've just finished replacing all the power poles with the power nodes, or whatever they're called. I always forget what they're called. What are they called? Wall outlets. That's right, wall outlets. With the wall outlets, as well as placed down some walkways to really give the factory more of a look like, you know, people actually work here and travel to and from different parts of the building. And I've gotta say, I love the way it looks right now. It looks kind of messy. You know, you have things moving everywhere. Parts going from and to places that you can't even see, and just, it feels very cluttered, but it also feels very much alive, like an actual factory. The next and final step will be, of course, placing down all the walls. And then after that, hopefully we'll have unlocked enough motors to quite possibly get oil processing. And so 5 hours later, here we are. The finished, except for the maintenance area, Steel Factory V3. Now, I'm severely hoping that I don't actually have to make any more changes to it because it's done. But I did leave enough space for at least one manufacturer and maybe a few constructors here and there. Now you might be wondering, why did this take me 5 hours? Well, I only had a very vague idea of how I wanted it to go, so I struggled a bit with the roof, and particularly that last section, which is like a secondary and third floor. Also, I don't know if you recall, but I made a slight modification to the hypertube tunnel leading to the coal power plant, the auxiliary one. The addition of my little exhibits really spices things up. Just these glass boxes over in the horizon, just menacingly. Alright, so we come up here and see, I've got all this empty space to work with. I knew from the start that I wanted to get this kind of design down. Originally, I was going to use this floor for something, but now it's kind of just empty, right? Something I never mentioned before because it never came up is that when I was connecting these two areas, these two towers, with staircases, there's this gap here. For all novice players or anyone that hasn't figured it out, you can just bridge the gap with a few walkways. It makes it look nice, you know, you have a little perch thing, and the best part is that it doesn't actually block you off when you're walking down the stairs. This is what it looks like from the inside. I went with a very weird roof design for it, kind of open on the top, sort of modern, but I kind of like the way it looks. That thing is over there making motors. One of the containers is already full, so I can actually get to the milestone. Overall, it looks really nice, I think. Boxed in, but with plenty of skylight so that we can see things even at night. Okay, and now back up here, and we're gonna go up this time. I love the way this came out. This was always sort of in my plans. As soon as I thought of actually changing the hypertube tunnel, then this thing cropped up. I thought, you know what? We could make it have a little area on the roof of the second floor. And that was going to be the original plan until things sort of fell apart on me. And when I say fell apart, it's that I miscalculated just how high the actual tunnel was in comparison to the building. So instead of making a small area that the tunnel could reach atop the roof of the steel factory, I decided to simply make a giant second and third floor mix that would connect with the tunnel, and I think it looks a lot better. Alright, so taking 50 motors from here. I already have 100 encased industrial beams. I do not have 500 steel pipes, I can get that, and along the way I can get the copper sheets. It may have taken me some time and quite a bit of effort. It's amazing how tiring it actually is to think of things and make them. But I really like the way it came out. Okay, so oil processing it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're missing pipes, these puppies, and the 50 motors. Oh yes. Lunch! Sweet.
Milestone reached. Oil acquisition and refining unlocked. Oil-based products can now be made. The byproducts of oil refinement can be used after further processing, as seen in the refinery.
Excellent.
Caution. This is a reminder to minimize the chance of expiration during out-of-base activities.
Minimize the chance of expiration, you say? Oh, Ada. I love you, but you read my mind. You know I want to make a weapons factory first. That was the first of Tier 5's milestones. The next one, ought to be industrial manufacturing, and for that we actually need to make our first oil rig setup. I ought to be able to scan for oil. Crude oil, yep. Okay, I know for a fact that there is some in the west to northwest area, sort of around this area. As soon as the scan finishes, any day now. There we go. There is plenty of oil in this general direction. None near me, but that's okay. We need to finally start exploring. And here we have the beginning of the next major construction, the next major factory, which, as I've mentioned already multiple times in this episode, is the weapons manufacturing plant. And this will be a, you guessed it, a hyper-tube tunnel system. When I mentioned that I made the one over there based on a design I already had, I was mentioning this one. See, from the get-go, I already knew what I wanted to do with these coal nodes over here. I knew that I wanted some kind of a system to get there fast. I had already kind of designated this area as the weapons manufacturing plant, but I never dreamt that I'd have to first craft the tunnel on the other side of the world. So that's interesting. The second factory I wanted to build this episode definitely has to be this one, though. I mean, Ada even said it, there's risk of me going out and expiring, so I might as well give it a shot. Even if I can't actually do anything at the moment. It's exciting stuff. It's going to be very interesting to build this up from scratch and actually think of a good design for both a factory and a building. But for now, I'm gonna get to expanding this a bit. You know, the actual maintenance area, thinking about it. So I'll meet you back here once I've got a rough sketch of what I want. And once I connect the sulfur node up here as well, because I need to get that going. As you well know, I like to put things on a grid. And that was always going to be my focus for this playthrough, for this non-series. I've mentioned it before, and I'm mentioning it again because, especially for the longer reaching things, the more far away things like this node, I have to extend a large amount of platforms along the same grid so that everything lines up perfectly. While I was out there, I managed to pick up a bit of sulfur and a bit of quartz, and I'll go for the deuterium in a little bit in order to get the next few upgrades here in the MAM. Because you need base quartz, for example, to research the ability to create quartz crystals as well as silica. In the case of deuterium, to make the deuterium ingots, and in the case of sulfur, to start making the black powder. Boom! Black powder analysis completed. Next one requires 50 black powder, which is a good reason to actually start, at the very least, that maintenance area. And who knows, maybe even put the smelters or foundry or whatever on that same level. And there we go! After configuring the conveyor belt and then getting it up here to where the maintenance floor will be, I've got a makeshift black powder maker. Oh yes, the very beginning of the next factory is already underway. And with that, I think I'm going to leave this episode here. So sure, I didn't build 2 factories, I built one and like 1/8 of another one, 1/16 of another one, but it's a good start, we're on our way. Next episode though, I think I'm going to start building the oil stuff, and for that we're going to start exploring. I don't even know if I'll be able to make proper explosives or weaponry for the next episode, but we'll see. I'll probably work in the background in the meantime to get that going. If not, then who cares, right? What matters is that we get to the oil and we start either transporting it back to this central base area or build a rig over wherever the oil might be. Having said all that, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Satisfactory Non-Series. If you liked it, then please thumb wrestle with that like button down below. Comment, subscribe, and hit that bell button for some sweet notifications. But as always, I'm the only me, so you be the only you. See you next time!